All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the recap of If They Won't Listen bonus content. We're still trying to choose a title for this. We got a couple of ones in the air, but I'm gonna beam up my co-host real quick. Doot, 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 doot. Locking on to him. Doot, 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 doot.
What's up, Leon?
Whoa, there he is. I cannot believe that code word. Freaking love it. I love it. And people that are watching this on YouTube are going, what is happening?
Feel like whatever they want, whatever they're on, I want some too.
It's called pure joy, baby.
That's right. Exciting.
Pure joy.
Now I know how Muhammad Ali felt before a fight.
Yeah, right. And just I'm ready to beat him up. I don't know how Muhammad Ali sounds before.
It's like flip out a butterfly, man. Sing like a bee.
Boom, boom, boom.
There you go. There you go.
All right, man. How you doing since the last time we spoke, which was technically yesterday?
Yes, it was. And technically, it's the same. You know, it's the next day. It's called a Monday, a work day.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You know, went to work, showed up, did my part to society. How about yourself?
Went to work, lost a guy, but now one guy got sick, so he got out. So he's out. I don't know for how long now, and I'm by myself, so I had to do everything the job had to do, and I was just so burnt by the end of the day.
So okay, so let me ask you something. What uniform color would you say your work is?
Oh man, I'm ops.
Yeah,
I'm
what?
ops. I'm ops. I'm on ops. Yeah.
So what color is that?
That's if depending on what generation you're on. So if this is generation 1, if we're going by Kirk Star Trek, okay, that timeline, that would be the red uniform.
You mean the gold?
No, it would be the red. Gold
Red?
uniform was for the commander or the captain of the ship. Blue has always been the science division. When you get into the next generation, then it swaps. Then red is command division, and then gold is ops division. So kind of it switches.
Got it.
Yeah, so it does depend on which era of Star Trek you in.
So what era of work are you in?
All right, I would say if I really had to put out there, I'm gonna have to say I'm in that other era with TNG with Picard. So I'm wearing gold because I think I would look really good. Yeah. I've been talking about this with the wife and my roommate, and I'm like, what do you think I would wear? They go, the gold. Yeah, you would look good, better in that. I think, right, I would think I look good in the red and black, but I'm like, all right, I give it to you. I think I might look good in the gold.
I'll be honest, if you go Kirk Green, I think you'd be perfect.
Oh, yeah? I'll do the Kirk Green.
Because it's got a little bit of gold, so it highlights your complexion and your beautiful eyes.
All right, there we go. So then what are you wearing? You're not a regular red shirt, right, Spencer? You're not just expendable?
No, not just expensive. It's expendable. I'm not a one-off.
You're just expensive.
Expensive. Yeah, exactly. That's why my name is Spencer.
Like a British whore.
Like what? No.
Like a British whore.
Oh. Costs more than a pound of tea to get me off. Well, this is not wholesome to any children. We could start off bad on that one. Yeah. Shoulder dance.
Fantastic. All right.
Coming to a screen near
you. Yeah. So right. What are you wearing? You wearing ops uniform or are you wearing?
So in my work, I would definitely say I'm like a Riker.
Okay, so definitely. That's command division. So you get that red. All right.
I'm more of a Riker.
I can see it just because I'm not gonna say it's gonna.
Like I'm not lead, but like I'm underneath.
Right, but I will say, and I'm gonna for you, it's gonna highlight the fact that you have the long hair. You got it like kind of off to the side, and if it did that thing during a battle where part of your locks fall over your eyes, you're like, like explosion. But I'm all, and you're just like, you have to throw it back, pull out your face, or set it to 3 to kill.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you nailed it. Right. You absolutely nailed it.
Fucking A. So that's our segue into this first episode, or really is like the first episode at this point. The other one was like a pilot where we're just fucking throwing spit wads out the wall and saw what stick. Star Trek, the motion picture. That's What did I
Ooh.
watched it immediately after the last episode that we did. Just went right it. My wife was asleep. My roommate was up for it, so I threw it on. I put it on. I watched the whole thing, and then I just kind of skimmed through it just about half hour ago. I just like kind of fast forwarded through it and watched like 5 minutes. Fast forward a little bit more. Watched another 5 or 10 minutes. That's what I did.
Yeah.
When did you watch it?
I watched it for the first time yesterday, Sunday.
What?
And I did a nice little wake and bake, and I was just like, all right, it's like 6 a.m. I got nothing to do this morning.
You enhanced the viewing experience with THC. I got it.
Yeah.
It was my first time watching it too. I wasn't high, but I was my first time watching. I was watching it sober.
I tell you something, I was amazing. I was just like, I did not expect this forward light action and scenery. I was like a child. I was like, oh wow.
What, bro?
Not even what, bro. I knew what was going on. It was just more or less just like the way they see the fucking Enterprise is the way I feel about this whole movie.
That whole misty-eyed, like it's beautiful, Scotty.
Yeah, it's exactly how I felt.
All right, so I kind of started off. I want to go a little technical facts here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's go technical.
All right, so this is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It came out in 1979. So that's 10 years after. I looked this up. That's 10 years after the last live action episode of Star Trek, but 5 years after the animated series. Now, I don't know this offhand, but I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say that the animated series of Star Trek is canon.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I guess I feel like everything is mostly canon.
Yeah,
Star Trek, and there's not like a whole lot of legacy or anything like that. So like, I don't know. Like I never felt there was a dispute about what is or isn't canon because
right, a lot. Yeah, really. Not like in Star Wars where everyone goes, "That's not canon." Anyways,
yeah, exactly. It's like, how do you watch 6 movies? Well, you can watch it this way, you can watch it that way, and it's just like whatever makes you swallow the pill the easiest. That's all that matters.
Suppository for me. All right, so you know it, dog. So all right, so
dog.
I did do. I upon my yeah, you know it. Well, because all right, so here's the thing about the animated series, because it lasted. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 seasons. I think it was 2 seasons in 1 year. I think it's one of those things. But if you watch the original series, wanted to say that a part of the opening is Captain Kirk saying that this is the Enterprise. It's 5-year mission. So that means it was supposed to have a 5-year mission, which meant it kind of said we're setting ourselves up for a 5-season show, right?
Or a syndicated series.
Right, exactly. So a little bit more. This movie was directed by Robert Wise. Do you know who this guy is?
Yeah, he's the guy who directed The Sound of Music, West Side Story, and he edited Citizen Kane.
Yeah, you nailed it. Right.
Yeah.
These were a part.
Oh, he also did A Day That Stood Still.
Yes, and then Body Snatcher, The Haunting, and The Andromeda Strain.
Yeah.
So this guy's done it all. He's done everything from sci-fi to romance to comedies, horror movies. His guy's track record is amazing. And I think the last movie he made before he died came out in 2005. Don't quote me on that.
I'm not going to quote you on that.
Good. And
but his last true film is his last big blockbuster film is pretty much this one, the Star Trek: The Motion Picture. He had a pretty long track after that. He was still good, but he just didn't have that magnitude of success that he did. Because all in all, people consider the motion picture to be a flop, but it's a flop because of how much it cost to actually produce it. If you look at the box office results, it scored very high for that year.
Right. And let's see. It was budgeted at $44 million is what it was, but that was its budget. And a box office $139 million. So that would be 88 would be double that. So almost triple what it was budgeted for. Almost. Actually, no. I think that would make it triple. 139. Yeah, I think that is triple. I don't feel like doing math right now. You can do math.
No, I can't do math. This is your project. You finish it.
So I'm whipping out this fancy new app that I downloaded on my phone recently. It's called Calculator. 44 times 3.
You downloaded yours. Mine came with.
All right, yeah, no, 132 million would be triple. So it made more than triple back what it cost. So it was considered a flop, or
at the time it was considered flop because of the production over the box office results. Like it was like they could have made more money if they actually stuck to the original budget. Like $45 for a budget like of that size, and then you go to the next film, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and that's only $15 million.
Really? All right, I gotta look. I'll look that up when I do my research. I'll hold you to that.
Oh, please do.
15.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the screenplay was by a guy named Harold Livingston. Now I went on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is not always going to be the most reliable source, but if you went on this guy's Wikipedia right now, he's a novelist, a famous novelist. He was also apparently, this is Wikipedia, founder of the Israeli Air Force and was integral to the Israeli-Arab War back in like the 50s. So I don't know how true that is. I read this I'm like,
that was your fun fact to bring to the table, huh?
I'm going, I need more. I didn't feel like researching it any further than that. I just went, I'm just gonna put this on the table. Let's see how it flows. Let's see if anyone can confirm it. Thank you very much. If someone can dispute it, awesome, great. I went and read that. I went, wait, what? This guy went from a modest victory of an Israeli Arab war of two warring nations, and then like almost 25 years later, he goes, you know what I feel like doing? Writing a screenplay for Star Trek. I want it all, man.
Well, he had a good story to go off of. I gotta be honest though, when you really watch that film, there is more visual storytelling going on in that movie than there is actual dialogue.
Right, exactly.
And that's actually the beauty of this film.
I totally get where you're coming from. But so the story was by a guy named Alan Dean Foster, and this guy's track record is quite amazing. This includes that he was a ghostwriter for George Lucas for Star Wars novelizations, including Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is no longer canon to the entire series because it was written almost a year after the first Star Wars movie in 77. So in 78, this book came out. It was like roughly 78. Yeah, I think it was like 78 when this book came out. And in Splinter of the Mind's Eye, it's about Luke Skywalker, and there's a lot of Luke Leia love scenes in this book, and there were a lot of sexual tension between the two. So it became non-canon after Empire Strikes Back, when it was found out that, oh wait, no, they're siblings. Never mind. This would be really weird. But you can still
for Star Trek or Star Wars.
I know. I'm just throwing that out there. That's my other fun fact of Splinter, because that's the book that he wrote, the guy that wrote this movie. So that was just that was just like sort of an off path. Now we're gonna go back. All right. So music was by Jerry Goldsmith. Now Jerry Goldsmith's track record. Every person involved in this film has a really good track record. So
that's why the film was so damn expensive.
Yeah, right. Here's what this is. This is what composer Jerry Goldsmith has also worked on. The Rambo movies, Planet of the Apes, Logan's Run,
that was great.
Chinatown, Poltergeist, and even after this movie came out, he came back to compose the music for First Contact, Final Frontier, Insurrection, and Nemesis, also Star Trek movies.
Yeah, he really hopped in for the last three, like at the tail end.
Yeah,
like, I'll go back.
Yeah, I guess I could use the money.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something. This was like the jewel of his scoreography, I guess you could say. Yeah. Where it was just like you hear this and like your blood is just pumping. It's going. You're just like, something epic's going to happen. I don't know what, but it's going to be good, and it's going to be like utopian like.
Very, as you said, it's got a lot of visual storytelling in it. And it's a very when you look at it from this movie's technical aspect is quite brilliant. And I think you can agree with me on that one, Spencer. A lot of special effects were not only CGI, but they did a lot of forced perspectives. And I'll let you take what forced perspective is. Tell the audience what that is.
Well, enlighten me what your idea of forced perspective is, because I was coming at this with a different angle.
Okay, forced perspective is that where they use camera angles and camera tricks to make something look like it's got more depth than it really is. This was used a lot in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
Where they had the tables a certain way, or like they had props a certain way, and then what they would do is angle the camera, and the characters were actually maybe 6 feet away from that actual object, but they made the camera angle just right so it looked like they were standing right in front of it.
Yeah.
Was that what you got?
Yeah, that's kind of. I mean, that's not exactly what I was fully taken away from it, but yeah, that's kind of where I was around.
Okay.
There's actually one scene where you actually could pick up off of it. When Captain Kirk gets back on the Enterprise, and he's like, "Hey, Captain, I'm going to resume captain on this ship now." He's just like, "Wait, what? No, you're not." He's like, "This is bullshit." And it's like, all due respect, you just want to be captain of the ship because it's just like, it's your ship. You want to be captain of this. And he's like, I hear you. So why don't you report to science duty? How about that?
I know.
As that whole conversation's going on, if you look what's going on behind, like,
yes,
Will Shatner, you realize that, like, for a couple of moments, the painting that's in the background that leads to like an extension of like the other end of like the tube in the ship,
right?
You realize that like that's like locked in on point. Then all of a sudden it kind of cuts to like a 90-degree angle, and then you realize it's a little bit off. But no matter what, when you watch the people, nobody's ever going straight. They're either going like off to the right or off to the left. Nobody goes further than the actual painting. And it's like, it's fucking hysterical.
It is.
I mean, I watched it twice yesterday just because of his, like, I was so blown away by it the first time. I was like, I gotta go back and just make sure this was good.
I gotta make sure that the TAT action wasn't just like, this is was it nostalgic goggles on me.
Yeah, but I loved how slow everything went.
Okay, and that's where we're gonna disagree with you on. That's where I'm gonna split and go off on I'm gonna stand on the other side of this line, and I did not really care for how long it was.
Wait, are we talking about the length of the picture, or are we talking about like long shots?
I'm talking about every long shot. And I marked a couple of them where they happened. Mm-hmm. And definitely the first one is at the 14-minute mark, 14 minutes, 21 seconds, all the way up to 19 minutes and 6 seconds, where we just keep getting this shot of the Enterprise and reaction shots of Kirk and Scott. Yeah. And I was going, this scene could have been like a minute, guys. This did not have to be that long.
Yeah, but think about what the effects were at that time. Think about like the
it's impressive.
No, but it's impressive, but it's more impressive because it's like it's made in 79. So they were probably making it somewhere in 78. And before that was Star Wars. And Star Wars had its own little sci-fi thing going on. Now you're watching this and it's just like, this has the feeling of 2001 Space Odyssey, but it has this relevant, but it has a relevant, simple story as like somewhat similar to Star Wars in a way, at least for the New Hope.
Okay.
And then it's just like, yes, you get these long scenes, but here's the beauty about it. Like, there's no quick shots to it. You got to take a moment to observe the whole work of what's going on.
You really get it.
Of the Enterprise. Is fucking incredible.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I really don't.
And then the acting that Shatner and Santa Claus does in that scene. Walter something.
Okay, guy.
But the expression shots that these guys had to give by looking at nothing except for like a wall, a light, or a camera.
Right.
That's some like really good acting, in my opinion.
Oh no, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I thought.
But what's your problem with the long shot of the Enterprise then?
Oh, I just think like I just sometimes like to think my time is valuable. Don't get me wrong. You want me to take in a shot? I thought it was quite amazing. I mean, there was that point. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when they were going inside the cloud for the first time and they were going and seeing inside the ship for the first time, there's some really good shots. And I was very wowed by it. But I tracked those shots, and that was a solid 15 minutes of shot. And I went with no dialogue. It's quite it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a very tricky thing to do, because I've seen it in other movies before. They pull it off brilliantly, but maybe it's because it was 9:00 at night I'm watching this, and I was a little tired. But there was really good shots, and I thought you're right. Shatner reaction shots, and a lot of them were really good, because it was a lot of reaction acting in this movie, and
oh my god, so much.
And that's not easy to do. You can't get any of these new actors to do reaction shots the way these guys did, where you had to react, because Shatner explained it in an interview for this movie, and it goes, you want to know what acting is like? He goes to kind of give everyone an idea what's acting like in a sci-fi movie. He takes a sheet of paper, he draws an X on it, and he tells you, follow it over here. Now have this reaction. Follow this X over here. Now have this reaction. Follow the X over here. Now have this reaction. And that's all you see until the post-production of the movie, and you go, oh, I'm reacting to a ball of light, or I'm reacting to a big giant lizard. And now he goes, that's acting in sci-fi. It's not easy.
No, it's not. You gotta have the imagination of a child.
You really, really do. You really, really, really have to. And I mean, my roommate fell asleep. We're watching it. He fell asleep. I had to put the movie back on for him maybe a day or two later, but I put it at the last 20 minutes so he can see the reveal of the end of the movie and then how it concluded. Because he told me, he says he's watched this movie so many times and he never gets past a certain point because he always ends up falling asleep.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And that was my first time watching the movie, and I go, I can see why. It is a very long movie. There's very long shots. I can see why you fell asleep. But I caught myself nodding off. But I remember waking up to the important scenes that were after they got into the Enterprise, which were when they first go in front of what they call the intruder, and then what happens when they go inside the intruder and get to the ship, and then what happens after that, where this entity comes inside the Enterprise as a part of its curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, well, all right. There was a lot thrown out there, but I'll say this: the long shots and everything like that. I mean, again, the practical effects and seeing how crisp and clean the sci-fi scenes were,
so clean,
and the time lapse of the clouds, especially at the beginning that you're talking about with like that entity, and just watching how these clouds move is like really interesting, because all it was a simple like black matte canvas board, and then what they did was they time lapsed these cloud structures in there, and they just kept moving it every so often. So that way it kind of like had a wave to it, and that's what kind of made it look like the whole moving cloud that it was.
Damn, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, it's interesting as heck. But I'll say this, like, because there's so little dialogue going on and there's not really a whole lot of action, there's just a whole lot of, like you said, reaction. But there's like a lot of that's how I imagine space would be at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all about just traveling at warp speed. There's like, hey, we're going to go out here. We're going to, do a couple of things. We're going to get our engines revved up. We're going to make sure we have enough lithium or dilithium, whatever.
It's dilithium.
Dilithium. All right, I was right the second time.
You had it, yeah.
But you go mining for that, you're good all day. But so obviously there's not large parts to talk about the story. So you just want to talk about like the what the entity is and like all that good jazz.
Wherever we want, we can even go. Let's go ahead and reel it back a little bit and talk about the main plot of this movie. So what happens is in the very beginning of the movie is that there's a small fleet of Klingon warships, and they get it. Yeah, warbirds, and they get attacked by a cloud of energy that destroys all their ships. So then it comes back down to Starfleet that there is an entity that is clearly on its way to Earth. Its path has been trajected that it's heading towards Earth, and they don't know why, but it's also destroying a lot of things as it goes by. And they bring on Admiral Kirk, not Captain, Admiral Kirk, to go on the Enterprise and to lead this mission, which this is the part I find messed up.
Okay.
He goes straight up to Decker,
Yeah.
the current captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
We'll get into that actor a little bit later. I think it's Stephen Collins.
I'd rather not.
I'd rather not either. You can look Wikipedia him. He's a terrible person. That's the long story short.
Yes.
But in this movie, he plays this captain, the current captain of the Enterprise, who gets, let's just admit it, fucked over.
Yeah, but that's life.
Yeah, but that's life. Where it should have been Admiral Kirk should have been a consultant on the ship because of how important it is. But Admiral Kirk, which you're kind of assuming off screen, he really wanted to be in that chair again, right? You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's got right. No. The Captain Kirk and William Shatner, nobody could really be William Shatner, even though I know Chris Pine did it, and John Belushi. But like nobody could really be William Shatner. Nobody could be Captain Kirk except for William Shatner, because it's all about the swag factor, the ego, the charm. It's like the appeal, and like that's what he does. Like here's the thing about you look at all the captains in Star Trek, you realize that Captain Kirk is probably the most reckless one.
Oh
because
yeah,
it's all about emotion with him. But like at the end of the day, he winds up actually like saving lives. I don't know how. I guess because of the team around him that really does it well. But what I'm trying to get at is that that particular role to have Captain Kirk or Admiral Kirk get back on the Enterprise and be like, I'm an admiral. I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is my ship again. So get out of the seat, go to your little side chair, and let's enjoy the ride.
By the way, we're bringing your old flame back on the ship. You know the one, Ilia with the bald head. Yeah, we're bringing her back, so there's some tension between you two.
So Deckard and that character, Ilia, you said?
Ilia. Ilia.
Yeah, is the it's basically the original like kind of molding of what they were picturing Riker and Troi to be. So it was like that was like the original.
Oh, you know what? I see it. I see it now.
Yeah.
I see it now.
Yeah. Because like Deckard's supposed to have a little suave factor, but not like fucking Bill Shatner suave. He's got the more of like, I got confidence. I know what I'm doing. I'm a smart, level-headed guy. And then you got the whole lady. What is it? Ilia. I like kind of reminds me of Ilios in a way. The pizza.
If that helps you remember it, whatever mnemonic device you need to use, go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, and then she's got the whole thing where, like, obviously, if they were ever to really have intercourse with the human race, like the human race would never be able to handle it. And like Troi was someone in a way where it was just like no like human could really handle her or no really person could handle her because of the way how she's able to read other people's minds and stuff like that so willingly.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's I don't know. It's like I found it really interesting, like how that was the original mold, and then how it managed to like fucking finally work itself out in TNG.
That's a very very interesting parallel. I want to mention one thing that I found really interesting about Admiral Kirk's specifications to take on this mission to intercept the intruder entity that's on its way. He specifically demands for a science officer that is Vulcan.
Yeah,
I thought that. And then there's probably a really good reason. Maybe it's because the Vulcans are very illogical, right? So it makes sense to have a science officer that's a Vulcan. Or is he trying to recreate something? Is he trying to recreate the fact that he needs Spock, who doesn't come in until halfway through the film?
So you're trying to tell me that Admiral Kirk is going through a midlife crisis, and he wants to rectify this, and this is his way of doing so.
He's trying to. That's what I got. I got that he was trying to recapture a time before he became an admiral. Because the one thing about Captain Kirk, and I did jump movies a while back before we started doing this.
Yeah.
And I was watching I watched Generations, which is technically the last film of the old generation going into the next generation.
Not really.
Star Trek.
The Generations. That's the one with Malcolm McDowell's the villain.
Yes.
Yeah. See that whole thing is just the new generation with a splash of Shatner.
Right. It really, you're right. It really is, because it's just mostly it's mostly just TNG characters and a TNG storyline. I don't disagree with you at all, but it's kind of like where you find it's being like the baton kind of passed sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what I mean. And in that movie, so we're not too jumping far ahead.
Yeah.
Kirk realizes while he's in this other dimension of pure joy that he actually is not excited to be there. He'd rather be back in action in a chair like he was once before, saving the universe, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with Kirk in this movie, is that he's I want to be where the action is. I want to have a hurrah. That's the feeling I got with Kirk in this film. He's like, I want to be in charge. When I take a shit, people get me toilet paper because I'm a goddamn admiral.
I don't know if they told you. They only got 3 shells up there.
How do you use the shells? You don't know how to use the shells, huh, guy?
Oh, man.
But yeah, would you disagree with me that that's what's happening? That Captain
No,
Kirk
I wouldn't disagree, especially how it's coming from Earth and annihilating everything. Wouldn't you want to be like the big hero or the
right
hero die trying to save the world? Of course.
Yeah.
And that's so up Admiral Kirk's alley.
Oh, you could say Captain Kirk. I ain't gonna. Man, I'm not gonna.
I know.
You're doing this to yourself, man.
I know. I am.
All right, so we move on. They go forward, and then they hit warp 1, and they go plaid.
Eyes are blown away.
Right, it's really more great visual effects where Captain Decker decides, not Captain Decker, I'm sorry, where Captain Kirk decides to launch some sort, I forgot what he wanted to launch, but Captain Decker completely undermines him and makes the ship do something. Was it
torpedo missile?
That's what it was. It was the torpedoes.
Yeah.
So they can get out of the wormhole they got stuck in.
Yeah.
Which was showing great scene, because it shows the fact that Captain Decker is not ready to let go of his post, which I liked.
Yeah. No, it was great. You got to really see the battle of the chair for a moment there.
I did. You do see a lot of that throughout the film. And then we move forward into Ilia's character, I think, was already introduced to that point. And then we get closer and closer to the point where they get to the cloud, the initial cloud.
Yeah.
And then great shot. You're right. The effects they did were just, I went back and rewatched it before coming here. It's very well done. You're right. For a movie that was made in 79 without computer generated graphics, you have to admire what they were able to accomplish on such a technical level. It's quite brilliant.
And that's why they spent so many time. And to have
like a 10-second shot, it's not enough.
Yeah, not even
enough.
10 seconds. It's like, we're going to give you 45 seconds of this.
No, not even, dude. They gave you more than that. They gave you like 5 minutes on that cloud, bro.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And I was just like, why can't more sci-fi? Like, all right, not more sci-fi. I feel like
movies
that level of sci-fi. No, that particular level of sci-fi where it was slow, steady, and like you zoomed in or whatever other angle it would be to show off the impressive feats of accomplishment, not only within like the practical effects, but within what they're trying to show as like as a whole. In this case, it'd be a ship, a planet. It's just like it's just incredible how they just take the time and show it to you, so you have all that time to absorb it, and you're absorbing it. And what you're doing, you're just admiring people's work.
Oh yeah,
you watch a movie now, you know what the shit, when the CGI is there, and like, that stuff hasn't really blended in as well as we all wanted to do.
Oh, it really doesn't, especially when you go back and watch like the Harry Potter films and you see the parts where it's CGI. It just doesn't. You just notice it right away. If you have you don't even have to have an eye for it. You just notice it right away. But you're right, and I watched it on a 65-inch TV. So I'll tell you, when they were doing those tracking shots, man, of the ship, you're going over and you're just like, what, kind of this whole like, whoa, look how big and massive that is. I'm not going to lie to you. Impressive work that they did on that. Yeah. Good, man. And you got anything else to say to keep saying about some of the technical aspects of this film, or like certain
Well,
scenes? Because this is a lot of reaction shots. You're right. This is
it
where you
is a
kind of
lot of
get.
action
You're
shots.
just a good solid 35 minutes of them just reacting to this shit with
Yeah.
the dialogue being no more than like 50 words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that it's just like and the dialogue is not the most perfectly well written, but it's enough to tell the point of where it needs to go to next.
Right. Which is, all right, we have to disengage this, or we need to divert power to this. And then you have those moments where Decker still fights.
Yeah.
Still fights with the Kirk.
Yeah.
On that.
There's a small conflict, but it's small enough where it could just be squished in the moment.
It's like, Kirk looks at Decker. It's like, oh, I see you're trying to swing your dick around. Look how much I can swing my dick around.
It's really funny. They originally wrote Decker because they were afraid that they weren't going to be able to get every cast member, specifically like Shatner. And they're like, well, in case we need to make a sequel and we could just get the original cast, we could have this guy like fill in the chair moving forward. Thank God did not work out.
I think that's the part I really like. It was the original cast, and even one that I don't know if a lot of people picked up. You're a real big Star Trek fan. You probably picked this up early on in the movie. So you remember the part?
I'm a casual fan.
All right, I got you. So I don't know if you picked this up. I don't know if you picked this up because I'm a pretty casual fan, but I picked this up. And on the earlier scene way back when they were getting the Vulcan to come in as a science officer.
Yeah.
Okay. The person that was beaming them in, the blonde hair woman.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the also cast members from the original show as well, from the first season. She played Janice, the Yaman Janice Rand. Ooh. Now, yeah. And she was only in one season, and then she was gone after that. She was like only maybe in like out of the
first
20, in the first season of Star Trek, I think she was only in a total of 10 episodes out of the 20 they shot. And she wasn't ever back ever again. So it was
like the first half too.
Yeah, the first half. And she was gone after that. And so it was really amazing that they brought her back to do this one. She's only in the movie for about maybe all but 5 minutes. And I thought that was so cool. But like you brought the original cast back, because who here is really going to remember Janice Rand? She had a very small part on the show, and you're in the first half of season 1.
Yeah.
But like I say, I'm pretty sure like really true fans picked up on that right away. Because I remember watching going, wait a minute, I know that girl. Is that one? Because when he said Rand, I went, I know that name. Because I've been watching Star Trek, the original series, like here and there, not a lot, but here and there. So I knew I picked up on that name right away. So bringing back the original cast was amazing. And apparently one of the hardest ones to get was actually Leonard Nimoy.
Well, yeah, because he was just a little bit salty about it. I mean, he essentially wrote a book after Star Trek, the TV series, where it goes, I am not Spock.
Yeah.
Like that's how off-put it was. And like for a show that probably lasted originally 3 seasons and didn't really collect the fandom it got until repeat showings later on, it was really hard to shake yourself as an actor to have a different type of role. Like, if you really think about it, right before Star Trek for Leonard Nimoy was Mission Impossible. And then for some reason, he left Mission Impossible to go work on Star Trek. And I think he saw that as a bigger opportunity.
Pretty sure that's where most of that $44 million went into for that budget. They're like, look, Nimoy, don't say anything, but we're going to definitely pay you like $10 million.
I'm sure they had to do the same thing for Bill Shatner, too. I can't imagine he came cheap. But I think Leonard Nimoy wanted a different trajectory for his career, filmography, and unfortunately, he was just kind of known as Spock. And I don't think it was until probably like decades later where he finally was appreciative of the fame that he was having for himself, as opposed to the one he wanted to have.
All right, fair. I mean, it's fair. I get that.
Because I mean, think about how many times he keeps coming back to the Star Trek.
And I mean, how many times did he have to really repeat that line, "Live long and prosper," to a bunch of people that were fans?
Oh my God, Wrath of Khan just like made that scene almost unforgettable.
Exactly.
It's so true.
Exactly.
So
I know exactly.
but,
So
but here we go. The genius of the story of the Star Trek the motion picture
boom, hit me with it.
is the idea that this entity is almost godlike because you don't know what it is.
Yeah. It's an unknown, it's such an unknown thing.
Yes.
Unknown thing.
And here is mankind trying to figure out what this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's this thing that was created by mankind to figure out stuff.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, it still needs to be helped figured out what's going on. And it's reacting like a human would.
Mm-hmm.
Because mankind essentially made it.
Right.
Like,
it's very confused.
Yeah, it's very confused. It's developed the point of actually being a human being because that's the only way it knows essentially how to think to a degree.
Mm.
And it's from like 300 years ago in the past. And I just the idea of that Captain Kirk is just like going up against this thing that was made 300 years ago. It's beautiful. Like the story in itself.
There's no action in it.
No,
there's no, and that you're right. There's no action in this movie whatsoever. So if you get to the point with V'ger, and like I said, I watched this movie for the first time, and then Ilia gets taken by V'ger at some point, and then there's that moment where Spock goes out on his own to inspect it, and he mind melds with V'ger and realizes that it was something that came from a planet with living machines, and it's on its way back, and it's this quite beautiful thing. But there's this moment of images flashing in front of
Kirk.
Nope, in front of Spock, and I immediately picked up right then and there because I said, all right, this has got to be some sort of probe that we sent out that's coming back. That's it. Why would it have all these images? Those are all Earth images I saw. Yeah. So I went, no, this is something that we launched out. V'ger. I'm like, trying to think. I'm like, all right, most likely it's probably the Voyager is what they're referencing. And you're right. And then it gets to that point where they make that reveal and went, oh, fucking nailed it. It's like, all right.
It's really well executed. I feel like in a way, Robert Zemeckis was trying to do that with Contact. And it was like not delivered the same way.
I don't know if you knew this, but Contact was written by Carl Sagan.
Yeah. That's why it's so accurate. Well written for a sci-fi movie. Yeah.
Actually, fun fact, and the amount of consulting they got on the Star Trek the motion picture is interesting. So here's a list of the people that consulted on this film. Check this shit out. Check your mind ears on this shit.
Almost in it.
All right, cool. They got NASA, the California Institute of Technology, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a former astronaut who worked on the Apollo 9 missions, and of course, sci-fi writer Isaac Asimov, which makes so much sense because the reveal of the plot of this movie, the big reveal that V'ger was actually was one of the Voyager probes that NASA launched 300 years ago, came back. Why did it come back? Because it melded with a living a planet of living machines. And that's a very Isaac Asimov plot point right there.
Is that like an early taste towards the Borg?
I thought about that too. I did actually think about that. I was like, is this like kind of like pre-Borg, or is this like something that was kind of like the Borg?
But or was this the birth of Borg? Like, did the Voyager and this thing to a point where like mankind like corrupted the computer, and it was just like, that's it, we have to take over and become a beehive.
Okay, so because the Borg are in whole to get more, let's get nerdy here for a second. The Borg come from a quadrant called the Delta Quadrant. That's where the Dominion are, and that's where the Borg are from. Okay,
wasn't the Voyager stuck there too?
The Voyager was stuck there.
Yeah.
They were pulled by an entity. I don't remember the name of it. They were pulled by an entity when they were docking off of the Gamma Quadrant from Deep Space Nine, and they got pulled into the Delta Quadrant. I think it was like 75,000 light years away from any Starfleet, something like that.
Yeah.
But so it's possible because, all right, so near the end of the movie, as after the reveal, after Voyager, after V'ger freaks the fuck out, and decides, I want to be with that dude. And Decker says, you know what? I want to be with her. This is my second chance to be the. And the whole thing just disappears. You're right. Maybe it ended up in the Delta Quadrant and just had this moment of, all right, I'm gonna make a hive mind of people. It's the Borg. I mean, they never really have gone. Have they ever gone through the origins of the Borg, where they came from? Besides the fact they're from this quadrant in the galaxy.
No, it hasn't really been like dug deep in an episode, to my knowledge.
It's a very good theory.
I like it. Yeah, no, it's
I wonder if anyone else has ever posited that theory that you've just concluded to, my friend.
I'm sure somebody has.
Let's do it. Is V'ger
long and deep?
Is V'ger the Borg? V'ger,
or the offspring to the Borg race?
Was V'ger literally first result that I get from Sci-Fi Exchange, Stack Exchange? Was V'ger responsible for the creation of the Borg? One person who answered, which I guess this is the top answer. The Star Trek Encyclopedia speculates that there could be a connection between the Borg and V'ger, the vessel encountered in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And then this is advanced in William Shatner's novel, The Return. The connection was also suggested in a later date in a letter, Starlog number 160, November 1990. I don't know what that means. But the letter writer, Christopher Haviland, also speculated that the original Borg drones were members of a race called the Preservers, which Spock has suggested the original series in the Paradise Syndrome episode. So there you go. So there is some kind of connection, but there's not a full, solid, yes, the V'ger.
It's whatever you want it to be.
But it's what, right? It's whatever you want it to be.
That's what makes Star Trek cool, though. It's like whatever you want it to be, as opposed to like other story rounds where like, no, we got this set story. This is how you're going to enjoy it. Yeah, why not? The Borg could come from there. Why not? And you're like, oh, I feel smart and great. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel smart.
Hear that, guys? That could be the Borg.
You hear that? Write it. Okay.
Write it down.
Write it down, guys. I have a big story for you. Very speculative. You know the Borg and you know V'ger. What if V'ger created the Borg? Oh my God. That's genius, Raphael. We're gonna write that down and make it to an episode right now. Cut this man a check. I mean, that's what they did in Doctor Who. In the original Doctor Who. Yeah. When they lost the actor for whatever reason, he didn't die, just left the show. They go, well, we want to keep the show going. One guy just said, well, he's an alien called a Time Lord. What if he doesn't die? What if he just regenerates into a new person? And they went, brilliant.
You know how many parties that guy or a woman went to where they were like, that was my idea. And they're like, who are you again?
I'm the guy. I came up with the fact that V'ger is the genesis of the Borg. Get out of here, fucking nerd.
You believe that, Joe? You believe that?
That bitch snubbed me.
Let's go see what they're doing on the holodecks.
Oh man.
Oh, God.
All right, and then I like how the way the movie ends. I really do. With Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Back in the chair, and he gets asked, "Where do you want to go?" And he's like, engage warp, whatever, heading that way. And then that's where the movie ends. I thought it was just great. I went, "Oh my God, it's awesome."
No, it's awesome. Yeah, I'll tell you something. After Star Wars, there was a huge popularity for like sci-fi flicks to come out.
Right, and Paramount pulled this one out of their ass. They just went, all right, you know what we have? We have Star Trek.
But they were working on it 10 years prior to.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least in the beginning of the 70s. It was like being talked about, worked on. There was some slow progression. It just so happened to be coming out at the best time possible. At the height of the sci-fi craze. Yeah.
You're right. And that was what they had to compete with, and this is something I've talked about before.
James Bond, they tried to compete with sci-fi too. It was ridiculous.
Who?
The James Bond franchise with Moonraker.
Oh, you're right. That's right. That was 70. That was 78. 78, 79 when that movie came out, right?
Yeah, 78, 7. It should be 79. I'll look it up right now.
You look it up right now
because go ahead.
While I talk about how the movie ends of Star Trek. I think
79.
It was 79. All right.
79.
Good. There you go. I mean, sci-fi was just in those late 70s and in those early 80s that a lot of things were sci-fi. Even Disney was trying to get in on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they tried to get their hands into it a couple times in the 80s.
Tron, Flight of the Navigator.
I love Tron.
Of course you love Tron.
Tron's great. No,
it's a great fucking movie.
I didn't watch that movie for the first time until like maybe in the winter.
Last year?
Yeah, like last year. I was just like watching it. And I was like, oh, this is what everyone's talking about. All right. This is a good film. I like it. Jeff Bridges, I'm sold. Give me Jeff Bridges. And you got Blue? I love Blue. Give me Blue all day.
Give me Blue and Jeff Bridges all day. I'll watch anything with Jeff Bridges and Blue. He could be eating a charcuterie of cheese of different cheeses, and I'll still watch it as long as he's wearing blue.
Wearing blue. You could have like a smorgasbord, like on a plank of wood out on the light, on an ocean. Fantastic. Clear water, and he's just chopping away. He's like, I got some blue cheese, I got some Ritz crackers, and some shrimp. You want some shrimp?
I really think he would have I don't see Jeff Bridges as a blue cheese kind of thing. You know what? You're right, because the whole it fits with I guess it fits thematically with your whole blue thing. But I kind of figure Jeff Bridges is more of a Gouye kind of guy when it comes to he's like I love a little Gouye.
I don't know. I kind of almost pictured him be like a French feta too.
All right, like a brie.
Yeah, no, like a French feta. Like
okay,
like, not exactly a brie. Like he's soft. He's soft. He's a little bit salty, but nothing you can't go like, oh, this is too salty. No, you're like, this is salty enough where it's like, give me some more. I want some more.
Fantastic. All right. I think we did it. We hit the motion picture. Now I want to hear, would you recommend yes or no?
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right.
It's like, somebody's going to be like, I haven't seen 2001 Space Odyssey. Should I watch it? I'll be like, let me tell you something. You could watch this. You could advance to the start to 2001 Space Odyssey.
I'm hearing a buzzing, and I'm just now realizing I think there's a bee in my room.
There's a bee in your room?
I'll be
Borg.
It could be the
Borg.
Borg.
Could be that episode of Black Mirror.
Oh my God. Oh God. Hate of the nation. Wow. Way to bring it, bro.
Not do what I can.
Okay. I cannot recommend this movie.
Why?
And I'll tell you why.
Why?
If you're not into
why?
long track sci-fi movies, very drawn out plot, I can't really recommend it I cannot recommend it to the layman. Now, to someone that really appreciates film and filmmaking and sci-fi films, and of course Star Trek, and really like Star Trek, I can totally go, you need to watch this movie because this is definitely a very good episode of Star Trek, because it is very much a Star Trek episode. Like Gene Roddenberry made sure that this was a Star Trek episode, thick and thin. Because I've been watching.
It was originally going to be a two-parter TV movie,
right?
And it was originally, but because of the success of Star Wars,
they needed it on the big screen.
It was originally called Phase 2. It was originally called Phase 2 of the comeback of Star Trek.
Right.
And what happened was the success of Star Wars fuck this two TV movie nonsense. Let's just we'll make it one whole movie. We put the two together and we call it a day. And like that, and that was the beginning of the formula of what made the production cost so much more, because like once they finally got to the point of the TV movie and then accelerated to just the movie, I mean, you're talking about dumping more money into it. And when I say dump, I mean that like very charmingly and happily. I mean,
fair enough. All right. Yeah. And a lot of the Star Trek fans came out and went, they watched it, and it was enough to get a sequel in. which is gonna be the next movie we're gonna watch.
I'm so psyched, man.
I'm so psyched.
Have you seen Wrath of Khan?
These are my first time ever watching any of these Star Trek movies. I've seen, like I said, I've seen Generations, I've seen Insurrection, First Contact, and I think I have seen Nemesis, but I caught the last half of Nemesis like on Showtime or Cinemax, and I wasn't really into it. But I'm gonna watch it. I am gonna watch it this time around because we're gonna get to that. That's gonna be our last. That's gonna be technically our last movie we're gonna watch.
So I think we should do a little extra bonus for this particular sequel. Wrath of Khan is based off a particular episode.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Saw that coming.
I think we should like just put the two together, and that's what we should do.
Yeah, you read my mind. That's exactly what I want to do. I know the episode you're talking about. I have it queued up on Hulu. I'm gonna watch it first, and then I'm gonna watch the Wrath of Khan right afterwards. And this is the one that anytime someone talks to me about Star Trek movies, this is the one they always talk about.
This is one of the few sequels that becomes more superior to its predecessor.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
like one of those top 10 sequel predecessor knockers where it was just like, yeah, this fucking movie. And like of course, because it was they adjusted the visualization, they pumped more into his story. And the story's brilliant in my opinion. But we'll save that for next week.
Let's do it. All right, so sign us out, Spencer.
All right, my name's Spencer. This is our little buddy Leon, and together we're gonna warp the fuck out of here.
And recording.